Welcome back to Adventures with Bam. I'm Brent Billings.
And I'm Maggie Billings.
And this episode has us overcoming the disaster in Detroit. So you may be thinking, like, I thought we were going to get this episode last week. Honestly, I thought the same thing, and I just did not realize what the date was last week as far as its proximity to Easter and Torrin's birthday and everything else. And we just wanted to get that out there. So
yeah, priorities.
But yeah, so we last left off with the tenants paying rent in May of 2022 for the final time.
Which was right after we replaced the furnace and hot water heater.
Just the furnace.
No, we replaced both.
Hot water heater was earlier, though.
Okay, well.
Anyway, it was shortly after that, 2 months after that. And at this point, the property management people, like, I had touched base a few months after this, and I was like, hey, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, yeah, the tenants are, like, they had gotten some support from something previously, some sort of, like, I think it was like a COVID relief program or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was through the city or whatever. But they're like, yeah, they had this support, but that ran out, so they're working on getting this new thing. We're working with them. I was like, okay. So then a few months later, the property management people are like, hey, we're changing up how we do things, and because you guys only have one property with us, we're dropping you as a client. But we will see any legal matters through to the end. I was like, okay.
Yeah, they had decided to pursue eviction for the tenants. Apparently, they had, I don't know at what point property management is like, yeah, this isn't working, we're just going to evict. But they had said they would handle the eviction moving forward and just let us know when that was done. But at the point that was done, then we would need to find new property management and move forward from there.
So then we didn't hear from them
for a long time.
I don't even.
Too long.
Do you remember what the date was that we like? Because I'm crazy busy at this point, and Maggie up to this point is completely uninvolved.
Outside of the like every couple months, like, hey, have you heard anything? Nope, no email, no news. If I hadn't heard anything, there must be no news. So we had last heard from the property management, December of 2022, I believe.
Yeah, that's when they notified us that we were being dropped.
So by the end of 2023, and we were like, you know what, court stuff takes a long time. Often, like, that's not uncommon. And same kind of thing. Like, I'd think of it and be like, what's going on there? And you'd check and there'd be nothing. So, but after a few times of this, I was like, something's wrong. So by the end of 2023, I was like, send me everything you have. Like, all of the emails, all of the information, give it all to me. Something's off. And like you said, like, you're so busy. You have so many irons in the fire. I was in a place where I was like, I think I have the bandwidth to take the reins on this and figure out what's going on, because this is crazy. So basically found out that the eviction situation, that the previous property management, they had taken it to court. And the story that I got was that it got dropped. I don't know how. I don't know why. It got dropped. So then we did an occupancy check, and they said somebody's living at the property right now. We don't know if it's those same tenants or if they left and someone else is squatting there, but there is currently someone living at that address. So I said, all right, well, whoever it is, whether it's those tenants or somebody else, we got to do an eviction. We got to release the place because someone's living in there rent-free with no lease currently. So I file an eviction. Then I hear back from the attorney a couple weeks later, hey, it's the original tenants. They want to work out a deal. I'm like, all right, let's work out a deal. So we're working on getting a new lease written up and new property management. Property management tells me, hey, this is at the beginning of November. I hear from property management, hey, they won't let us in to do a walkthrough of the home to determine what it's worth to rent until after the holidays. This is after a few conversations where I was kind of like, I want to give the benefit of the doubt, but it seems like they might be playing games. because they had this whole big story and they didn't want to pay any back rent. And they were saying all these things like, well, you guys never put anything into this rental and we've put all this stuff in it and you wouldn't want this place inspected anyway because it wouldn't pass an inspection, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, we need to have it inspected. Like, that's not an option.
It's not legal.
Yeah, I'm not going to, what? Like, I can't, because they were saying like, oh, it's in terrible shape. Like, this place is crumbling. And I was like, well, I don't want you living in a place that's A, not safe for you, and B, is going to like, it's going to cause me problems too. But like, you can't be living somewhere, if it's as bad as you say it is, like, let's get someone in there and get the repairs made that need to be made. So they're saying all this stuff. And then property management's like, they won't let us in. They're saying not until after the holidays. I'm like, you want me to wait 6 weeks for a walkthrough? Like, that's crazy. And then they were saying, well, we won't let you do a walkthrough for 6 weeks, but we also will not pay rent or sign a lease until after all these repairs are made. And I'm like, that's not legal. That's not a thing. So I called a few, attorneys and the city, the department of the city that handles this and said, no, you can absolutely have a lease and charge rent, while you are pursuing repairs, as long as it's in the lease. I said, okay. So tenants didn't want to do that. And I was like, you know what? This isn't working out. Like, we're going to move ahead with the eviction. If they want to stay and they want to stay for free, like, that's just not an option. And it seems like that's all they want to do. So we move forward with the eviction, thinking it's going to be cut and dry. It is not cut and dry. It is months and months of hearings. Again, if I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, I would say that the tenants probably misremembered things. If I'm not giving the benefit of the doubt, I would say there was a lot of dishonesty that went on. So choose your own adventure there. Like, oh, these guys never paid a dime. And it's like, well, okay, well, why do I have $7,000 in receipts then for this property? And, oh, I never turned away any inspectors. Okay, well, why do I have emails from 3 different inspectors saying that you wouldn't allow them in after you agreed to schedule these? So just like stuff like that over and over and over. And the court system was incredibly slow, very difficult to work with.
In a supposedly landlord-friendly state.
Well, and it's like, I had heard, and I understand, and I don't have a problem with this. I had heard that often in cases, they will lean toward the renter in terms of favor to protect them from landlords who take advantage. I love that. Absolutely. I think that's wonderful.
Right. That's fine. And I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying the reputation of Michigan that I was under the impression of is that they lean towards the landlord. Yeah. In most cases.
And eventually they did. I think the issue is just the process is so slow. And then at one point, like several months in, we'd have a hearing, it would get adjourned, and they go, okay, next one is in 4 to 6 weeks. So we'd wait a month and a half just for the next hearing. And one of these times this happened, 8 months in or something, I get up for this Zoom hearing and we find out that they've lost our file. They're like, oh, we have to adjourn for another couple weeks. You're going to have to rebuild the file because we just lost your whole case file. Because apparently the city of Detroit is still on a paper system. They have not gone electronic. Their district court is still using paper for all their stuff. And I'm pretty sure all that paper is in front of an open window on a desk somewhere. So like stuff like this over and over. So at one point, a couple months into these hearings, I had decided this is too much. This is a nightmare. I want to be done. We're going to sell the house. So the tenants had said, well, we would buy the house. And I was like, yeah, I'll get it appraised. I'm at the point where if you want to buy the house and you can get the money for it, I'll sell it to you. Like, the home clearly means a lot to you. I'm fine with that. Let's do that. And then it was months and months of, like getting a purchase agreement written up. No, we don't agree to that. And then months and months of them trying to get the funding, and then no, that won't work. Let's look for a different lender. No, that won't work. I mean, this went on, I think at the end of June, we had a hearing and the judge said, okay, you guys have until the end of July to close. If you haven't closed by the end of July, the owners can evict you. Well, end of July comes and they said, we don't have a loan yet. Can we do an extension? I say yes. So we do a month extension. End of August comes. We don't have a loan yet. Can we do an extension? Oh yeah. For the July extension, we had they paid us for that month. I said, yeah, if you pay us, like, I'll let you stay another month. So they wanted a second extension. I said, again, if you pay us, they didn't have the money. They said, no, all of our money is tied up in the price of the home. And it was like, well, the court can't see us any earlier. So like, if you can get the funding together and get this to close before the next hearing, then yeah, like I'll wait to get an eviction going, kind of a thing. We just couldn't, like, there was, couldn't get anything moving until the court gave us the official green light anyway. So eventually they found a different lender who was going to give them, or it was like 2 different lenders. We got it all the way to closing. We signed closing papers. They signed closing papers. All that was left was to send the money. This was at like the end of the day on Friday. So we're thinking Monday morning, we're going to get funds wired. Monday morning comes and goes, that whole week. So we have a week and then another hearing the following Monday. And I'm like, okay, guys, you have until the end of this week to send funds. If you can't, we have a hearing on Monday and I'm not going to give you more time for free. So sure enough, one of their lenders backed out. The funds were never sent.
Wisely. They wisely backed out.
Yeah, I think probably so. Unfortunately, it was really a bummer. And I know this sounds stupid to a lot of people, and I'm sure the tenants would never believe this, even if I said it. I had a hard time with the fact that we had to evict because it is obvious that the house, like, it's our property, but it was their home for a long time. They had been renting it for a while when we purchased it. So this was their home. And I want to honor that and I want to respect that. And I understand that homeownership is not easy for everyone. And I understand that, like, there are different life circumstances that come up that make it harder for people to save. And yes, they lived rent free for multiple years, but I don't know their financial situation. I don't know if they had medical things, like, there's just so many things that can come up in life. And I want to make sure, like, for my conscience, I want to make sure that I have done everything in my power to give people the opportunity to rise to the occasion and take the opportunities that are given them. And when, after all that, I mean, it was, a year and a half, almost a year and a half from when I filed that eviction and they said, no, we want to stay, to when they were actually out. A year and a half of me thinking like, oh, this is going downhill. Oh, wait, no, I think they're just about to get the money. I think we'll actually close this time. A year and a half of that, and then to have it still not work and still have to do the eviction sucks. Like, again, I know that sounds ridiculous to everyone that I've told this story to, but I'm making peace with the fact that is, maybe that's my fatal flaw. Maybe that's my greatest strength. I don't know, but I want to give people the benefit of the doubt and I want to give people opportunities. And unfortunately, in this case, it led to things taking, like, if I had just said no, if they'd said, we want to buy the house, and I said, no, I won't sell it to you, like, get out, like, that would have saved us 8 months. It would have saved us 8 months. Yeah. But I think I would have always wondered, like, oh my gosh, did I just take this opportunity from this family with all these kids who wants to stay in this home that means so much to them in this neighborhood that they love. I'm glad I tried. I think as time goes on and I've had more time away from the situation, I'll probably be more glad, because right now I'm like tired. But they eventually left right before, a week or so before Thanksgiving. And then we listed it. And after we listed it, I think we had multiple offers. I think it went under contract twice before we finally got an offer that went all the way to closing and finally sold just a little over a month ago. So I mean, that is the most abridged possible version we could give. Like, I know that was longer. This
I
is
was
a longer
hoping for
episode.
10 minutes, but honestly, 15's pretty good.
15's pretty good for how, and the people, we've got people in our life who've been walking with us through this in real time, from like oh no, I have to do a 30-day eviction. Okay, well, in a couple months, from that to this is like, the details are insane. Like, it is almost humorous how many things have gone wrong and how many things have taken more time than they should and how many times it got adjourned. And Like it's just been total insanity, but I'm so grateful it's done. I'm so grateful. I'm exhausted.
And we still have a couple of little buttons to snap or something.
The smallest of buttons. Yeah.
To wrap up all the business entities and stuff. But the house is done, and it's easy to look in hindsight and say, yeah, we shouldn't have given them a chance. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't ever want to wonder, I think. And
right.
And it's kind of like we talked about in the last Detroit episode, where people advised us, when we bought it, like, oh, don't do carryover tenants. Like, you buy a house, you kick out the current tenants, you start fresh. There is conventional wisdom that oftentimes we will kind of be like, no, I'm not going to do that because we're different. We're not always different, it turns out. Sometimes conventional wisdom is there for a reason, but I still stand by my choices. I think I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. And no, it has not always worked out well for me, but I think people are worth the risk. And sometimes people will screw you over, and that sucks. But people are worth the risk. And that, I think that's worth learning and worth sharing with the world, is that once in a blue moon, somebody will rise to the occasion when you give them an opportunity. And I think offering people a better way and offering people the benefit of the doubt, sometimes that's what that person needs to kind of live their best life. And when it works out well, it's worth all the times that it doesn't. So there you go.